The wind was unusually calm the morning Lieutenant Maya Thompson stepped onto the training field. The sun had barely risen, but hundreds of soldiers were already standing in formation, their boots digging into the cold ground. There was a quiet intensity in the air, the kind that builds moments before something unforgettable happens. And though no one knew it yet, this day would change the base forever. Maya walked with her usual steady composure, her expression firm yet gentle, the kind that brought both trust and discipline. She wasn't the loudest leader, nor the most decorated one, but she carried a rare kind of strength, the strength that came from surviving battles no one ever saw. The kind soldiers whispered about with respect. Across the field, Commander Rourke paced with sharp, rigid strides. His reputation was legendary, feared as much as he was respected. He demanded perfection, and he crushed anyone who failed to meet his standards. Many said he was born without softness, without mercy. But Maya, even from a distance, felt something else beneath that iron exterior, something wounded. Something tired. The morning drill began like any other. Shouts, commands, synchronized movements, the thunder of boots. But during a close-quarters demonstration, tension sparked. Rourke's frustration flared as he corrected a series of missteps. His voice grew harder, his temper sharper. Then it happened. A sudden spike of anger. A mistake of emotion, not training, and he lashed out. His fist struck Maya across the face in front of nearly 1,500 soldiers. The world froze. No one breathed. No one moved. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Maya didn't fall. She didn't stagger. She simply looked up, calm and steady, the strength in her eyes louder than any retaliation. And in that moment, soldiers realized something profound. True power wasn't what they had been taught to fear, it was what stood quietly, even after being struck. Whispers rippled through the formation like shockwaves. But Maya didn't retaliate, didn't scream, didn't even raise her hand. Instead, she did something no one expected. She stepped toward Rourke and said, voice steady, everyone is fighting a battle you can't see. That one sentence cracked something inside the commander, something buried deep beneath years of armor. He stepped back, his breath unsteady, as if he'd been punched instead. Soldiers watched the impossible unfold. A man known for unbreakable hardness suddenly looked human. That moment sparked consequences, investigations, and long days of silence. But it also sparked something else, change. Weeks later, Maya walked into the rehabilitation wing where Rourke was required to undergo emotional and behavioral evaluation. She had no grudges, no bitterness, only an unexpected softness in her heart. She found him sitting alone by a window, sunlight brushing his face like a mercy he didn't think he deserved. He looked up as she entered, the weight of guilt heavy in his eyes. I don't know how to say this, he said quietly. I spent years teaching soldiers to be strong, but I never learned to be human. Maya took a slow breath. Strength and humanity aren't opposites. They're the same. One just needs courage. The other needs honesty. Rourke swallowed hard. I'm trying, Lieutenant. I know, she said, gently. And that's why I'm here. The next day, during the group rehabilitation session, something incredible happened. Soldiers who had seen Rourke as a giant of intimidation began to see him as something else, a man willing to face himself. He stood before them, voice tremoring with raw truth, and confessed how long he had been carrying unspoken trauma. Years of deployments, loss, pressure, the constant expectation to be unbreakable. And then he said the words that would echo across the base for months. If I can admit I'm hurting, maybe you can too. Silence filled the room, a deep, reverent kind of silence. A young soldier, barely old enough to shave, lifted his hand and broke into tears as he spoke about the pressure he never admitted. Another talked about his fear of failing. Another spoke about the stress of living far from home. And one by one, voices rose, honest, shaky, human. It changed the base, not instantly, not magically, but day by day. Maya became an unexpected anchor for the soldiers, someone who listened without judgment, who guided without shouting, who inspired simply by being real. Her quiet strength reshaped the meaning of leadership. Instead of fear, she built trust. Instead of intimidation, she built unity. Rourke, slower, more painfully, began rebuilding himself too. He apologized personally to every soldier who had feared him. He attended every therapy session, not out of obligation, but out of choice. He learned to breathe, to listen, to feel. And in that unfamiliar softness, he found a strength he had been missing all along. One evening, months after the incident, Maya stood alone on the hill overlooking the base. The sun dipped low, melting into the ocean, painting the sky gold. Rourke joined her quietly, standing at a respectful distance. "I never thanked you," he said softly. "For what?" "For saving me from myself." She shook her head gently. "You saved yourself. I only reminded you that you could." Rourke looked out at the horizon. "I used to believe soldiers had to be made of steel. Unbreakable, unfeeling. Now I understand something new." "What's that?" Maya asked. "That the real battlefield isn't out there." He pointed toward the sea. "It's inside. And courage isn't how hard you hit, it's how honestly you heal." A slow smile touched Maya's lips. "Then you're becoming one of the bravest soldiers I know." For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the waves crashing, steady and unending, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Finally, Rourke said, "You know, the day I hit you, I thought I had ruined everything. But now I see it was the moment that forced me to change." "And sometimes," Maya said softly, "the hardest moments are the ones that save us." As the last light of day faded, the two soldiers stood together, not as commander and subordinate, not as offender and victim, but as two human beings who had walked through pain and emerged stronger, kinder, and more whole. And somewhere deep inside the base, soldiers trained, laughed, and lived with a new understanding. Strength isn't the absence of weakness. Courage isn't the absence of fear. And sometimes, the most powerful act a person can do, is offer compassion where anger once lived. It was a lesson that would shape them forever, whispered in barracks, remembered in drills, carried into battle, and passed down through generations. Because on that base, in that moment, humanity won. And once compassion takes root, it never lets go.